We need new faces, new leaders, and new energy. And let me be clear. Appealing to a new generation doesn't mean forgetting our past. I grew up under the mentorship of giants like Shirley Steinmetz and Billy Ciotta. I miss their counsel greatly. I know so many of us in this room do. I know they loved John Larson. So many of us do. But I also see their spirit in Luke Ronan. And I am here today to tell you the same qualities that made Luke a great mayor of Hartford will make him an even better congressman. There comes a time to say thank you to our legendary leaders and trust the next generation to take the baton. To be against Trump is not enough. We need a clear agenda and people who can build a movement to make it happen. Now really is the Democratic Party's time to rise up and make change. I want a Democrat who isn't afraid to be the first one to say, abolish ICE. Even when all the political consultants say, don't do it. I want a Democrat who was passionate about housing way before it became cool to be pro-housing. And let me also say this. I've appreciated the way Luke has made a positive, respectful case for change. I haven't appreciated seeing increasingly negative and misleading attacks in response. And I hope we don't hear any of that tonight. Tonight, as a proud teacher and a proud union member, I am...
Constitutional rights are being chipped away, and too many people are asking whether anybody in Washington is really aware of what their lives look like. Ruth is aware. She's a trust and estate attorney. She knows how wealth gets protected, transferred, and concentrated, and why too many working families never get the same chances. She knows what economic insecurity is like. As a woman who battled her way into the middle class, when she first moved to the United States, she lived in an apartment with 20 people. An immigrant whose own family members are now a direct target of the politics of division. She knows what's at stake in this political moment. And unlike much of Washington, Ruth does not operate under corporate domination. She answers to the people. Her campaign puts it best. The American dream fights back. And that's exactly what this campaign aims to do. Fighting for an economy that works for everyone, fighting for a public education that gets our children ready to succeed, fighting for a democracy that honors constitutional rights and is actually working for working people. And let's face it about representation. As Republican legislatures across this country gerrymander Black and brown communities out of meaningful power, as courts threaten civil rights protections, and as voices are systematically pushed aside, Connecticut has an opportunity to move in the opposite direction, to lead, to be intentional, to raise up a voice that represents not only the actual experiences of those with the expertise, but the aims of the people we claim to represent. This is the first time in 28 years that we've been able to choose new leadership. 28 years. That's not a criticism. That is simply reality. But conventions aren't supposed to rubber stamp the expected. Conventions are times when delegates serve as guardians of democracy. These are the moments when we are not called to preserve comfort. We are called to choose courage, not to revert to politics like other times, but to consider what this moment needs. And this moment demands bold leadership. Ruth is the courageous choice for Congress. She is the fighter this moment calls for. She is again an example of the American dream's continued power to be worth defending. And I am proud and honored to nominate my friend Ruth Fortune for Congress.
Thank you very much, Whitney. For the purposes of seconding said nomination, I call on Brandon Carter. Pursuant to the rules, there you go, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. I've got the pleasure of knowing Ruth for the last couple of months. And we've spoken, had some great conversations about a lot of the deep and current issues affecting America as we speak. It's also an incredible honor, the second nomination of Ruth Fortune for Congress. As delegates, we are not just participants in the process. We are stewards of democracy. Tonight, every delegate is powerful. Each one of us represents 500 voters under the law. Collectively, we control who appears on the Democratic primary ballot. So let's remember we're the pro-choice party. Ruth brings a unique perspective and experience to this race that no other candidate does. In 26 years, she went from not being able to speak English, sharing the bedroom with 8 people, and being undocumented as an immigrant, to now standing up for the very values that brought her family to America. The idea that if you work hard, you should be able to get ahead, and that our children should inherit more opportunities and freedoms than we did, not less. In communities of color, we know a painful truth. Many of us have to work twice as hard to get half as far. The gutting of the Voting Rights Act a couple of weeks ago was a painful reminder of it. Tonight, we are part of one of those systems that force some people to work twice as hard to get half as far. With 63 votes, Ruth earns access to the ballot. Without them, she must collect 3,734 signatures to get on the ballot. We're not able to change Connecticut's restrictive ballot access laws tonight, but we do have the power to act with fairness, courage, and purpose within this broken system. And if we, as Democrats and defenders of democracy, can come together to expand opportunity and choice in this room tonight, then how can we ask our leaders in Washington to do it? Join me in supporting Ruth Fortune to get her on the ballot. This is a democracy. The voters, not the party, should decide who represents us in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. For the purpose of nominating a candidate for the 1st Congressional District, I call on Matthew Flard.
Good evening, Democrats. How are we feeling tonight? Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Ford, and I proudly serve as Majority Leader of the Newington Town Council. And tonight, I am honored to stand before you to nominate Jillian Gilchrist to represent Connecticut's 1st Congressional District in the United States Congress. Friends, on the cusp of 250 years, this is an uncertain moment in our country's history. Today in our communities, families are working harder than ever and finding they still lack the most basic access to needs. Immigrants, trans people, women, and working families are being viciously targeted and divided for political gain. Across our country, people are exhausted by the same partisan games, big money influence, and carefully rehearsed talking points that never seem to change anything in their lives. A lot of people lost faith a long time ago that government can actually do good things for them and their families. And it's not hard to understand why. In this moment, when certainty is hard to come by, we need leaders who we know will fight for us and get things done. With Jillian, there is no guessing. Jillian is running a different kind of campaign. People-powered, grassroots, and built around service, not wealthy donors, not corporate PACs, and not ambition for ambition's sake. For Jillian, none of this is new. She has spent her entire career fighting for everyday people and the issues that shape our lives. As chair of the Human Services Committee in the legislature, Jillian has been on the front lines, actually passing legislation to lower healthcare costs, defend reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy, and stand up for some of our most vulnerable neighbors when it was needed most. Jillian's commitment is simple, that in the wealthiest nation on earth, nobody should go without and nobody should have to struggle alone. She hasn't just talked about progressive values. She's had the courage to take the positions, cast the votes, and organize like hell, hand in hand with our communities and coalitions for change to deliver real, meaningful results that make all of our lives better. Friends, the era of Democrats who speak the language of progress while protecting the status quo has come to an end. The people of this district deserve more than polished branding or consultant-tested slogans about change. They deserve the chance to choose leaders with a proven record of standing with working and middle-class families. People are hungry for authenticity and conviction and leaders who will actually fight for them. And as a social worker, Jillian looks people in the eye every single day and promises them it will be okay. A promise like that is not easily made without the conviction and the courage to fight for change. And in the best moments, that spirit has been part of the proud legacy of leadership this district has known. But if we believe in the dignity of working people, the courage to stand up to powerful interests, the human right to health care and to justice, if we believe in the movement for progress that is standing in the breach at this moment in history, then we must be willing to build upon it with a new generation of leadership and give it a fighting chance. Jillian Gilchrist is the leader prepared to carry that legacy forward with courage, compassion, and clear moral vision for what government can and should be for our people. She is the fighter we need right now. So tonight, with pride, hope, and confidence in the future of our district, I enthusiastically nominate my friend Jillian Gilchrist for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now for the seconding of this nomination, I call on Lisa Larson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, District 1. Very excited to be here with you all. It feels very good to be among fellow Democrats. I don't know about you, but sometimes I go out, I feel morally unsafe just knowing that there might be some people who are not on the right side of history. And I believe us as Democrats, we are on the right side of history. We believe that government should serve the people and that every opportunity and power should not be concentrated to the wealthy and the well-connected. Woo! And that we will be. And I appreciate every single one of you showing up tonight because you could have been anywhere. Personally, I could have been anywhere. Today is my birthday. And I chose to spend it here with you because I believe there is something shifting in our country. And I know you felt it during the municipals. You flipped seats in Bristol and Britain and Rocky Hill, and you feel it. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. You feel it when working families are stretched thinner and thinner, when younger people are wondering if they'll ever be able to afford a home, when people work harder than ever and still can't get ahead. And this is only after the first year. And if you're tired of the chaos in Washington, tired of being dismissed, discounted, and discouraged, then now is the time to stand up. District 1 has always known how to fight for itself. Now, some people might think that Connecticut is only the Gold Coast, wealth, privilege, power, but that is not the Connecticut most of us know. And just so you know, Hartford raised, West Hartford made, born and raised in Hartford, first generation Jamaican American, and now West Hartford town councilor. Woo! District 1 is teachers, nurses, union workers, and entrepreneurs. This district was built on working people, and our business has always been the people business. That is why I am proud to support Jillian Gilchrist for Congress. Before she was a legislator, before she was a candidate, she was a social worker, listening to families in crisis, advocating for people who felt invisible, and learning firsthand what happens when systems fail working people. She has spent the last 8 years delivering real wins for working people. She is currently doing the work of working people. She fought for paid family and medical leave because no one should have to choose between She has fought to expand postpartum care for new mothers. She fought to remove medical debt from credit reports so one illness does not become a lifetime of financial harm. That is what leadership looks like. Leadership rooted in service, not status. Grounded in integrity, not ego. Leadership that remembers government belongs to the people. 20 years ago, we believed in hope and change. So I ask you tonight, were you serious about hope and change? Because hope and change was never supposed to be a slogan. It was supposed to be a rallying cry. And if we meant it then, we have to fight for it now. Woo! Not someday, now. Woo! We cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. Nope! We have to get up, stand up, and fight for our future where working families can stay in Connecticut, where young people can build a life here, and where dignity is not reserved for the well-off and well-connected. This election is about whether ordinary people still have a voice. And Jillian understands that democracy works best when the people closest to the struggle have a voice in shaping the solution. That is what her leadership represents. Not protecting the table, moving seats around the table, shuffling seats around the table, but building a bigger table. District 1, it is time to claim our seat at the table. Woo! This is not just another election. This is a defining moment. So let us stand up for working families, stand up for future generations, stand up for the people already doing the work. Let's send a social worker, a fighter, a true public servant to Washington. Let's make history and let's send Jillian to Congress. Thank you.
And happy birthday on behalf of all of us. For the purposes of nominating a candidate for the 1st Congressional District, I call on Ariana Larson.
Of your district and for your commitment to the important work ahead of us, ensuring that we elect a Democratic Congress this November. And welcome to East Hartford. My name is Ariana. I grew up here just down the road. I now live in Manchester with my husband Andrew, another proud East Hartford High graduate, and our 2 sons, including one who's just a month old. Tonight, I have the incredible honor of nominating someone I've known my entire life, my uncle, my godfather, Congressman John Larson, to continue to represent. Looking around this room tonight, you'll notice some something that says a lot about who he is. His family is here. The Larsons are a big family. My Nana and Grandpa, Ray and Pauline Larson, raised 8 children, and our family was made even bigger through the community that surrounded them in Mayberry Village. That community shaped my uncle's values. Growing up in a federal housing project, you learn to work hard, to look out for your neighbors, and to never leave people behind. My grandfather used to say, when it snows, you don't just shovel your own sidewalk, you shovel Mrs. O'Brien's too, and don't you take a dime. And that is how my uncle was raised. And it's exactly how he has served his district. In our family, public service is not about status or titles. It's about helping people. Showing up when someone needs you. Understanding that your responsibility extends beyond yourself. Those values are not just something Uncle John talks about. They are something he lives. And that matters right now, because we're living in a moment when the difference between public service and self-service has never been clearer. Our democracy is under threat. Freedoms are under threat, and for too many families, even the ability to afford a stable, dignified life, it feels increasingly out of reach. This is not a moment for performative politics or untested leadership. This is a moment for conviction, for courage, and for people who have proven they're willing to fight and deliver when it counts. Right now, I'm home on maternity leave with my newborn son because Connecticut passed paid family and medical leave legislation authored by my uncle when he served as president. For my family. That's not an abstract policy debate to me. That is what leadership looks like in people's lives. And public service is personal to me in another way too. I'm a military spouse. Last summer, shortly before learning we were growing our family, my husband was involuntarily mobilized to support ICE operations in Utah.
Oh, no.
Those orders weighed heavily on our family because they conflicted deeply with our values. When your family experiences moments like that, you think very carefully about the kind of people you want representing you in Washington. You want leaders with compassion, leaders with courage, leaders with a moral compass strong enough to speak up when it matters most. My Uncle John has done that time and time again. From opposing the Iraq War to voting against ICE at its inception, he has always represented the values of his constituents. And John Larson has consistently stood with, never against, workers and working class families.
That's right.
As state Senate president, he helped make Connecticut the first state in the nation to codify protections for reproductive freedom after Roe v. Wade. He created family leave protections that families like mine rely on today. In Congress, he helped to write and defend the Affordable Care Act and has spent years fighting not just to protect Social Security and Medicare, but to strengthen and expand them. Through it all, he hasn't forgotten where he came from or the communities that sent him to Washington. John Larson has delivered real investments in every single town in this district, not just the biggest cities or the politically convenient places, but every community. He's brought home investments for roads and bridges, schools, public safety, veteran services, healthcare, and infrastructure that people rely on every day. These public tax dollars will come back home to the people who pay for them. And while his record speaks for itself, what matters most is the fight he's leading right now. When Elon Musk and Doge attempted to access Americans' private Social Security information, Uncle John took them to task. And when Trump launched illegal military action in Iran, he did not hesitate, filing articles of impeachment and demanding accountability before Congress. He has never stopped fighting for the people of this district. And that is why what happens in this room tonight matters so much. because we're in a crisis in this country and we can't afford to send someone to Congress who simply aspires to hold the title or whose fight and passion for protecting the most vulnerable among us has yet to be seen outside of rhetoric. We need leaders who are already in the fight, leaders who have been tested, and leaders who have delivered. We need to flip Congress, not the congressman. Standing up for working families every single day. So tonight, let's send a resounding message. Connecticut's first stands with John Larson. We're sending him back to Washington to keep him in the fight. It's my great honor to nominate Congressman John Larson for re-election to the United States Congress.
For the purposes of seconding that nomination, I call to the dais Kim Glassman.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Glassman. I'm a proud Democrat and a proud trade unionist, an active member of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 478. I proudly stand here to second the nomination of our Congressman John B. Larson. It's appropriate that we're holding this convention the day after what is arguably the most important day of the year, Mother's Day. And this year may be particularly challenging for caregivers. Just so far this year alone, my 4-year-old Avi has asked me about guns, has asked me about ICE, what a war is, and why I'm sad that Kamala Harris lost. He asked if the bad man is a Republican, and then a follow-up with, do we hate all Republicans? Of course, I answered, we don't hate all Republicans, but we do hate the bad man. And I take it everyone in this room knows who the bad man is. Some questions he asks are really tough, like, why does the Earth orbit the sun? What happens when we die? But some are really insightful. We were in the car with my parents driving to the Bristol Carousel Museum when he asked me, why do you hate Donald Trump? My parents were aching to answer, and they would have kept him in the car all day. But this was mine to answer. And as a union member, I answered this question the only way I knew how. Do you know what the word greed means? We talked a lot about greed. We talked about how some people who have a lot of power always want more. How some people who have a lot of money are never satisfied. How some people have a lot of houses or land, want to keep it for themselves. But that we are also human. So greed can affect any of us at any time. And we have to fight against it and be compassionate and sensitive and kind. Our congressman is the product of public housing, public education, and public service. He's seen the devastating consequences of unchecked greed. He's seen how government and how unions have lifted his own constituents out of poverty. This is a man of empathy, and empathy is what we need in our lives and in the halls of Congress now more than ever. primary from the right. Our congressman wasn't born in Greenwich, isn't the product of boarding schools, never tried to undermine organized labor by siding with wealthy developers or financiers, or tried to reopen collective bargaining agreements to drive down wages and benefits. No. Our congressman has fought to protect the best anti-poverty program in the country, Social Security. Maybe Social Security can seem frivolous. But since we're on the subject, I'd like to point out that 55% of women over the age of 62 are the primary beneficiaries of the program. And because women's caregiving labor is generally uncompensated, their Social Security benefit is significantly less than their male counterparts. If reelected, this is a wrong the congressman will right as the next chairman of the Social Security Subcommittee. Congressman Larson has brought back to this district over $4 billion. He recently secured $400 million for the construction of the new Hartford Federal Courthouse. He brought back about $70 million for the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, for the construction of a new manufacturing facility. And he made sure that both of these projects have a project labor agreement. Guaranteeing good union jobs for our members. John's record is the reason why he's earned support from my union, Local 478, and the rest of the Connecticut State Building Trades Council, from the Working Families Party, Planned Parenthood, Unite Here, the Machinists, and more than 15 other labor unions. The 1st Congressional District deserves better than a greedy anti-worker corporate agenda. We deserve a real fighter for working families, a true believer in the labor movement, a true believer in our democracy. We deserve another 2-year term with Congressman John Larson leading the way. I am proud to second the nomination of our champion, our Congressman John Larson.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I move to close nominations. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, nominations are closed. We will now begin round 1 of the voting. In a few moments, the ballots are going to be handed out to you, the different town chairs or town who's in charge of the computing the voting for each town. I ask that each of those people responsible for filling out the form raise their hand. I ask that each member of the town who is going to be writing down and filling out the forms raise their hand so we can get this paperwork out to you quickly.
Pass this down. Thank you.
Each town chair will receive one ballot and the entire delegation. Please indicate on the ballot how each individual delegate is voting. I'm going to, at my discretion, give 10 minutes for filling out these forms.
People can hear you. I'm live streaming Daily Rupture. That's all right. It's all right.
Please fill out the forms, and in a few minutes, I'll be asking for a roll call. At that time, the chairs will come down here at the either end of these aisles, and they'll be handed a mic by a volunteer, and you will read the votes into the mic.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm good. We're live streaming, so don't say too much.
You've been here the whole time? You got a good
You're
spot.
live streaming from Daily Ructions on YouTube. Look at you. You're our first guest.
This is fantastic. Unbelievable.
It is. 21st century is remarkable, isn't it?
21st century times 10. As you're standing there next to the flag of Brazil.
Yes.
And Bolivia and
Burma.
Bulgaria, etc. How you doing? All right?
I am.
You're running live stream
Excited.
literally as we're speaking?
Yes. Yep.
Well, this is Chris Keating here at the East Hartford
Yes.
Convention.
This will be our first.
I love it.
This will be our first primary of an incumbent member of the House from Connecticut in the 56 years that we've had primaries in Connecticut.
In 56 years.
Yes. From
Okay.
1970 were the first primaries.
Yeah.
This will be
And
the
there's
first
never
time.
been one.
There's never been one with it because it's so hard to get on the ballot.
I thought you were going to say, okay, there was a primary in 1998, but not of an incumbent.
Right.
1998 when Larson
Right, when it was
ran,
open
that was
seat.
a primary.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Different category.
Yes.
Got it. No, you're correct. I mean, it's a.
Connecticut should be ashamed of itself. For its,
Don't you already go back to, well, your studies go back. Was it Al May? Was that his name? 1956?
Ed May.
Ed May.
Yes.
Ed May. 1956.
Yep.
I
Another
wasn't covering it then.
insurance man.
Yeah, I wasn't covering it then. I may have to move my seat to get a better angle on this thing here, so I'm going to move.
Begin the roll call. I will update the convention. The Credentials Committee has updated its report. We presently have 366 delegates present, 48 proxies, for a total authorized to vote number of 414. And that being said, we will begin the roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. Now for the main event. I will now start the roll call in alphabetical order by town. Please be ready to approach the microphone when your town is called and announce the total votes from your town for each candidate. Barkhamsted.
Barkhamsted, the little town with a big reservoir, 2 beautiful state forests and the wild and scenic Farmington River, and a population where people talk to each other and help each other no matter what their political leanings are, casts both of its 2 votes for Luke Brown.
Berlin.
Berlin.
Berlin is the geographical center of Connecticut, and we cast all 11 delegates for Luke Ronan.
the all-American town and home of the great warriors, cast 4 votes for Luke Cronin.
Would you please repeat that so we can hear it?
I'd be happy to. Bloomfield, home of the great warriors, cast 4 votes for Luke Cronin. 17 votes for John Larson.
That's 757.
How did that get to 850%?
Ladies and gentlemen, I would really appreciate withholding your celebration so that we can hear a clear vote total from each town. We are just at the very, very beginning. And if we're going to be doing this and having to have people repeat themselves, we're going to be here a long time. So please restrain from celebrations.
One more time for Bloomfield. Please state your votes.
Did I say Bloomfield, the great all-American town? 4 votes for Luke Cronin. 17 votes for John Larson.
Bristol.
City of Bristol, 16 votes for Luke Cronin, 11 for John Larson, 1 for Ruth Fortune.
Colebrook.
Colebrook is proud to cast its single vote for Congressman John Larson.
Cromwell.
Cromwell, the crossroads of Connecticut and the home of the Travelers Championship, the largest sporting event in Connecticut, is proud to cast its 9 votes, 5 for Luke Cronin, 4 for John Larson.
East Granby.
East Granby, home of Old Newgate Prison, which we will be reopening for ICE agents in the future. The election goes as planned. We cast our 2 votes for John Larson and 1 for Jillian Gilchrist.
East Hartford.
Hello, welcome to East Hartford. East Hartford delegation, home of Goodwin University, Pratt & Whitney, the best parks and riverfront walking trails, Augie and Ray's, the coolest libraries, passionate, the bluest of Democrats. We proudly cast 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist and proudly cast 26 votes for our hometown, East Hartford's own Congressman John Larson.
East Windsor.
East Windsor, home of the first dinosaur fossil in the state. I just learned that. My apologies to Rocky Hill. East Windsor cast 3 votes for John Larson and 3 votes for Luke Cronin.
My beloved hometown of Glastonbury.
Glastonbury is the half home of the oldest continuously operating ferry boat in the United States. Hey! And it reads, 3 votes for John Larson. Excuse me. 3 votes for Luke Cronin. 1 vote for Ruth Fortune. Jillian Gilchrist has 2 votes and John Larson has 2 votes. Thank you.
Granby.
I'm asked to repeat it, Madam.
Wait a minute. You may not have heard that properly.
Repeat Glastonbury. This is Bobby D. For Luke Cronin, 3 votes. Ruth Fortune, 1 vote. Jillian Gilchrist, 2 votes. John Larson, 2 votes.
Granby.
Granby.
Pride of the Valley, home of many, many bears, and one of the bluer towns in the 2024 and 2025 elections. We cast 4 votes for Luke Cronin, 3 votes for John Larson.
Hartford.
Hartford, our capital city. Cast 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist, 1 vote for Ruth Fortune, 9 votes for Congressman John Larson, and 50 votes for Luke Cronin.
Heartland cast 100% of its 1 vote for John Larson.
Manchester.
Manchester, the city of village charm, is going to yield to the youngest delegate in the convention, Giovanni Farina, to announce our delegation.
Manchester will cast 33 votes for Congressman John Larson.
Middletown.
Middletown voted the most for romantic Main Street, and because Berlin said it, that they are the geographic center of the state, I'm going to just say that we say we're the geographic center of the state. Middletown casts 1 vote for Ruth Fortune, 2 votes for Luke Cronin, 5 votes for Jillian Gilchrist, and 6 votes for John Larson.
New Hartford.
We are New Hartford. We are a town for all seasons and a town for all kinds of Democrats. And today we are voting 2 votes for Luke Cronin, 1 vote for Ruth Fortune, and 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist.
Please repeat that.
2 votes for Luke Cronin, 1 for Ruth Fortune, and 1 for Jillian Gilchrist.
Thank you.
Newington.
Good evening, delegates. The wonderful town of Newington, home of Cedar Mountain, where you can see the entire 1st District from the beautiful vista of Cedar Mountain, casts 3 votes for Luke Cronin, 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist, and 14 votes for our Congressman John Larson.
Portland, with its 6 votes, cast 2 votes for Luke Cronin, 1 vote for Ruth Fortune, and 3 votes for Jillian Gilchrist.
Rocky Hill.
I'm looking for them.
Rocky Hill.
Good evening. Rocky Hill, the home of the VA Hospital, Dinosaur State Park, and Glastonbury. We're sharing this with you. The oldest running ferry in Connecticut cast its 11 delegate votes for Luke Cronin.
South Windsor.
South Windsor. The beautiful town of South Windsor, where a river runs through it. Champions, state champions for baseball, state champions for robotics, and home of the world-famous Apple Festival. We cast 3 votes for Luke Cronin and 12 votes for our Congressman John Larson.
Southington.
Southington. I thought we were the home of the apple harvest. 22 votes for our Congressman John Larson.
Torrington.
Torrington, birthplace of abolitionist John Brown in the historic Warner Theater. The great city of Torrington cast 1 vote for Ruth Fortune, 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist, and 6 votes for Luke Cronin.
West Hartford. West Hartford.
West Hartford, the hometown of Michael Schur, who co-created Parks and Rec, and drew inspiration from our town, cast his votes accordingly. 17 votes for Bronin, 0 for Fortune, 20 for Gilchrist, 13 for Larson.
Could you please repeat that? Again, for West Hartford.
17 for Bronin, 0 for Fortune, 20 for Gilchrist, 13 for Larson.
Weathersfield.
We're looking for the chair. Right here, right here. Weathersfield, where Washington and Rochambeau planned the Battle of Yorktown, which secured our independence, proudly cast 16 votes for Luke Bronin and 1 vote for Jillian Gilchrist.
Again, I will suspend this process if you people cannot abide by the rules, which is do not celebrate after the announcement of a vote. I will suspend this unless you people can follow the rules.
Winchester.
Winchester, also known as Winston, the town with 2 names from the northwest corner, proudly cast 5 votes for John Larson.
Windsor.
Windsor, where the shad always return. And like the shad, we like to swim upstream. We cast 21 votes for Luke Bronin, 1 for Ruth Fortune, and 2 for John Larson.
Windsor Locks.
Windsor Locks, proudly.
Windsor Locks.
Windsor Locks proudly gives 7 votes for John Larson.
delegation, please hold on to your paperwork at this time. We're going to get the totals, and when we do, we're also going to change the AV element to this so you can see vote totals. Just give us a few moments, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not be announcing any vote totals until people start to take your seats, go back with your delegation, because we have a whole other section to do in a moment, and you need to be with your delegation to respond to that part of the process.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, and certainly all individuals around the tally table, please sit down. I will not authorize the release of any numbers until we have proper decorum for this convention. Please provide the staff the respect they deserve and give them the room.
May I have your attention? I'm ready to announce the vote. We have received 181 votes for Bronin, representing 43.1%. 8 votes for Fortune, representing 1.9% of the votes. 37 votes for Gilchrist, representing 8.8% of the votes, and 194 votes for Larson, representing 46.2% of the votes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We're now going to change the viewing of the AV equipment so that you will be seeing ongoing vote totals. We have now entered into what is the kind of review and potentially switching of each delegation's vote totals that they have reported so far. I'm going to, at my discretion, give 10 minutes for each delegation to determine if they want to change their vote totals. That 10 minutes begins right now.
Viewers, we are now in 10 minutes of treachery. Where delegates who were certain of their vote just minutes ago may change to another candidate.
members of the convention, you have 5 more minutes for any switching. 5 more minutes. First point of order. The total voting delegates for this convention, including all proxies, is the number 419. We made an announcement of 414 a little while ago, and that was due to not all proxies being properly registered. There's staff that is doing an amazing job. Got to the bottom of that. We have confirmed that there is proxy paperwork for each of those 5. The delta between the number I just announced is the total universe of 419 between what I announced earlier, what the permanent secretary announced earlier. I will now call chairmans or the heads of delegations to this convention to make a line here to the staff table and register any switches that you have. I'm going to give another 10 minutes for the process of registering switches now.
There's no money for that anyway. I went away.
I don't know. No switches to me with my hand up. If you're switching, go to the table. No switches to the handsome fellow up front. switches, non-switches, but let's wrap up our first round. So if you have, please turn your paperwork in for the first round. Switch or not switch, please bring your paperwork forward.
Of course I recognize you. You post on Facebook so much that it's
I know.
that shows up on my feed every time I look.
Good. Well, it's really nice to meet you. Of course.
Final call for all delegations voting paperwork. Final call. Ladies and gentlemen, we are prepared. I'm going to ask you to please take your seats, clear the aisle. We still have a good amount of work to do tonight. I ask the permanent secretary to announce the results of the first round.
Delegates, the results of the first round, we have now received 191 votes for Bronin, representing 45.58% of the total vote. 3 votes for Fortune, representing 0.72% of the votes. 63 votes for Jillian Gilchrist, representing 15.04% of the vote. And 162 votes for Larson, representing 38.66% of the votes.
I'm at the convention. I'm at the convention. I'm
Ladies
at
and
the
gentlemen, it
convention.
just takes longer. Please take your seats, go to your delegation, clear the aisles. Pursuant to the rules of this convention, any candidate falling below 7.5% of the vote does not proceed to the next round. That being said, I'll just take a personal point, going to personal privilege, and offer a round of applause to Ruth. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to begin the second round. The second round, you've gone through this once. Please, all chairs of delegation, raise your hands so staff can distribute the ballots again to you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a second announcement, important announcement before we do the second round. Though she had achieved 15% of the votes cast in round one, and therefore can move to round two, I have been informed by Jillian Gilchrist that her name shall be removed from nomination and that she will not be a candidate in the second round. Therefore, you will only in the second round be voting for two different, Bronin and Larson. But again, my second point of personal privilege, a round of applause for Jillian. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I will ask that the heads of delegation raise their hand so we may distribute the second round paper.
that magnetic?
No, I'm holding this.
No, but I didn't, were you holding it the whole time?
Oh yeah, I have that.
You gotta get it.
People, viewers can hear you because we're live streaming here at this remarkable convention where history is being made. But Nikki O'Neill has died. So, thank you.
Sorry, say that again. Well, I think that's it. We'll find out after the first round. Okay. Well, I'll call you when it's over. I'll call you when
Ladies and gentlemen of the convention. Ladies and gentlemen of the convention. A few more minutes. We are not going to do a roll call. We are not. In a few minutes I'm going to ask different chairs, delegation chairs to come up to the staff table and report your second round paperwork. Let's try to be orderly and calm and polite while we're doing that. A few more minutes for you to get your paperwork together. Also, the vote tallies from each delegation must represent the individuals present and voting. If some of your delegates have left the convention, they're no longer voting. If you lose people because they have leave, do not cast a ballot for them. We will be checking that. And our rules of this convention allow any member of a delegation who feels there has been an improperly reported total number to report that to myself for investigation. So please be mindful, please follow the rules. A couple more minutes and then I'm going to ask the chair to proceed to the staff test. Your second round votes.
You can bring your paper down. You can bring your paper down. This is his friend's son who's running. Last time
Thank you.
Votes are now being tallied by the clerks. There's no roll call, and they are being put up on the screen. I think it's assumed that many of the Gilchrist delegates, having made their bargain with the Larson campaign, will now switch to John Larson. He's likely to win on the second ballot. A lot of trading going on here tonight between the Larson and the Gilchrist campaign. Conventions don't always bring out the best in candidates. Jillian Gilchrist would probably think of herself as a reform-minded Democrat, but is nevertheless engaging, it would seem, in a different kind of politics. But Connecticut's restrictive ballot access laws, the most restrictive in the nation, sometimes cause candidates to do things they would otherwise criticize in others. There's Jillian Gilchrist, who has withdrawn from the contest, having won her 15% on the first ballot. Wandering around the convention. There, you can see John Larson watching the tally board. Must be a unnerving experience for him after 28 years in Congress, 14 terms. to have come in second on the first ballot in this Congressional District's Democratic Nominating Convention.
Please give your attention to the chair. Can I have quiet in the convention, please? I'm here. I now turn it over to the permanent secretary to announce the totals of the second round.
Delegates, the numbers for the second round of ballots are as follows. 214 votes for Broden, representing 51.2%. For Larson, representing 48.8% of the
I want to thank everyone. Thank all of you participating in this process. It is the thing that will keep us all free, irrespective of who is the endorsed candidate. At this time, the convention will ask the endorsed candidate to come forward and give an acceptance speech. Before I introduce the winner of tonight's convention, I want to recognize for the third time my third person of personal privilege, and I'd like to hear a very rousing round of applause for Congressman John Larson. The winner of the convention.
Good evening, Democrats of the 1st District. I want to do again what Chairman Finelli just asked us to do, which is one more time ask you to join me in a round of applause for our Congressman John Larson.
our district with integrity, with heart, with passion, and I'm grateful for that service and I respect it. And to Ruth Fortune and Jillian Gilchrist, I want to commend you as well on campaigning about energy and change. You need to bring a whole new energy to this fight with the Democratic Party. This is not the end of this process. The primary campaign begins now. From now until August 11th, we'll be out there talking to Democrats all across the district. Not just the 419 here, but the tens of thousands out there who are the ultimate voice for our party. But I want to be clear about one thing. We just saw a political earthquake in this convention hall. Every Democrat in this room believes that we need to stop the damage that Donald Trump is doing to our country every single day. That we need to rebuild the guardrails to stop the brazen corruption and self-enrichment that he's taken to unimaginable heights. That we need to build an economy where families aren't getting crushed every single day under the combination of health care and housing and electricity and child care and paying more in taxes than Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos does by miles. We need to fix all of those things. But part of doing it right now is recognizing that we have to build a stronger Democratic Party. A Democratic Party that helps win back the people who lost faith in our fight, who didn't think we were focused on the things that mattered to them. The younger Democrats who are giving up on our politics altogether because they don't see us getting stuff done. That's what this race is about. That's what the next 3 months will be about. But most important, that is what the years ahead will be about. To rebuild our party, to repair our country, to fix a system that is fundamentally broken. And whether you are with me tonight or not, I hope to do that side by side with you. And coming out of this convention meeting, if you weren't with me, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. I want to hear what you want. I want to hear what you want to see in your Democratic Party. And I want to fight for you and for this district and for our party and for our country every single day. I want to thank my family. My daughter Luna and my mom are here. I love my 3 kids more than anything else in the world. And I was lucky to have wise and patient and caring and compassionate parents. And I'll be forever grateful to them. Finally, we've got a campaign for the next 3 months. No matter what happens in that race, no matter who is in this seat, we have one mission as Democrats, and that is to win. Yes. To beat Donald Trump, to beat the MAGA movement, to roll back the tide that has unleashed hatefulness and corruption, to build the country that we know we can have. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support tonight. I'm deeply grateful. I will never forget it, and I will work my ass off for this district.
Are you still recording?
The business of the convention
happy to say thank you. So you read this article. It's Christine Bartlett Josie. You know what? CBJ. Yes, she wrote the article.
What was it about? I know it was.
She's talking about what I did in Bloomfield and throughout the state. Yes. It was after the Bridgeport and me testifying that case and then coming back.
Now, no, yes, but you're also